Hey, what's up? It's Comic 95, the Savior, and as you guys can see by the title, this video is brought to you by Karen, of course. Y'all colonizers just irritate me so much. So I will be honest, in all fairness, I don't even know what gender this person is. I don't know if they're a man or a woman. I don't know and I don't care. And I also don't care if you are Latino or white, but you sound like a white person, so we're gonna treat you like a white person. I swear, I said this before, I will never run out of ideas for YouTube. We're going to talk calmly for this video, because I don't feel like yelling. I just woke up from a nap. I'm thirsty. I swear, I cannot say or do anything without a white person giving their own 2 cents on it. And the craziest thing is, I have tons of videos in which I'm giving my own opinion on stuff, but those aren't the videos where white people have opinions. It's always the ones where I tell people about an experience that I had. They always chime in unwanted, unnecessary advice that's not needed. And I've already made videos on this exact video, and every single time I make a video, it's always a white person. It's never been a black person that has said anything crazy, out of line, and have to chime in and say, well, I had a wonderful experience. Always a white person. That's why I'm going to assume. I find it hard to believe. I hope you're not a Latino, because I'm sorry, I'm going in on you. Okay. This person, I'll avoid using your name. They kept their comment respectful for the most part. But my issue that I had, which makes it not respectful and condescending, is no one asked you what you thought I should do. I'm talking about my experience in the past working there. As I've already said before in several other videos in which I've had to respond to other white people, and if you're wondering why you keep responding to these comments, if y'all are dumb enough to keep saying stupid crap to me, I'm going to use your stupid comment to make money off of. It's simple. Who doesn't want money? It's simple. Just woke up from a nap. I don't feel like doing my hair and makeup. I don't have to for these journal-like videos. It's a win-win situation for me. Why would I not take advantage of that? This is off subject. Wow, I actually lost my tan in less than a week. But, I look sickly. My skin looks pale. But, what was I about to say? Yeah, and if you don't know, I'm actually making this video on a broken toe. So I'm actually going to edit this video and probably try to post it for tomorrow, because I care that much to make sure that you got your answer. I don't leave up stupid, unnecessary comments that don't have anything to do with my video, and I even left a prompt telling you just recently my 3 criteria for leaving comments. Like, if it has nothing to do with my video, don't comment about it. If, you wouldn't say to my face, etc. So in this case, the comment isn't quite exactly rude, but it technically is. Now, thankfully, in my situation, I'm out of my bad situation, which this person acknowledges they watched the whole video based off of their comment. So 2 claps for you, Karen. You seem to have actually watched it, but still, at the end of the day, your brain couldn't comprehend this is someone else's experience, and no one needs to hear what you think you would have done in my experience. Not to mention, as I go through your comment, I'm going to read it in a moment, and then I'll break it down later. Your own comment contradicts itself, because you basically tell me that you understand why I worked for Kids Duo, but then you tell me that I shouldn't have worked there based on my own red flags. So, and if you're wondering, like, why does that matter? You're saying that you understand that I worked there because I needed the job, which is the reason why I would have ignored those red flags, you idiot. But then at the same time, you're also trying to blame me and victim blame me by saying that if I never worked there, I would have never had that experience. And I gave this example on my channel before. That is the equivalent of telling somebody that is a victim of R or something else, well, if you weren't wearing an inappropriate outfit, that would have never happened. Sure, ultimately, yeah, you probably could have done something to protect yourself better, to keep people from having interest in you in that sort of way, but you're also blaming the person now, because your focus should be on the man who did the action and not on the person that was a victim of it. Same thing goes to somebody that experienced being robbed or stolen from. Sure, you could say, well, you shouldn't have had your cell phone out in your hand. You shouldn't have had it in your pocket. But okay, are they not the victim of being robbed? In my situation, my ultimate message inside that video, sorry, my nose itches. I worked for a company. It seemed to have been prejudiced. They handled a lot of things unprofessionally. They wasted a lot of my time and my money. And beyond that, at the end of the day, I did work that I was not paid for. I did honest work. I worked my entire shift plus. That was the issue at hand. Nothing that I did was deserving of me not getting paid. And sorry, let me also skip ahead a little bit. Like most people, you would not decide, oh, I'm not going to go through with a job or whatever because of an interview. That's not an entirely great way to tell what a company's going to be like. It's entirely possible to have an interview that doesn't come off entirely perfect or whatnot, and then you work for the company and it's not half bad. Also, on top of that, as you just said inside of your own comment, I worked for the job because I needed visa sponsorship. I don't have time to be shopping around and looking for the perfect job. Let me remind you, I am not Japanese, which you clearly are not Japanese either. It's the end of the year, and I expressed that I was having difficulty finding a job. Not a lot of places are hiring at the end of the year, and most jobs are not willing to sponsor someone's visa that is on the verge of expiring to begin with. There's a lot of things to keep in mind there. So, before I get into all of that mess, let me go ahead and read the stupid white comment. Excuse my language. I'm keeping it here. I'm not sugarcoating this shit. This is what they said. And again, reading the comment, like with most white people comments, it makes perfect sense until you realize I made a video telling you my own experience. But let me go ahead and get into it. We're 5 minutes in the video. This is what they said. The information you have provided contradicts my experience with them. Literally, the polar opposite. I was quite surprised by your experience and can understand that the things that happened, such as your interview and them having you go to the school for nothing. But to see the contract, they put in parentheses question marks, is very messed up. But to me, it seems more of a special case. Of course, the white expert. I think you just got really unlucky with the school, and you should have walked out during that second interview if you didn't feel positive about it. I get the situation of needing a job and money and being broke to the point that you can't even afford transportation. I've been there too. So let me get back to that. But most of the things you said that the company told you contradict everything from my experience with them. I would like to ask where you got the information that Yaruki Switch Group is a pharmaceutical company and the money laundering, because from all the research I've done, this is the first I'm hearing of it. Okay, let's start at the top. The information you have provided contradicts my experience with them. Sir, ma'am, we're going to go with ma'am because you sound like a bitch. Let me break this down to you, okay? My experience. This is what happened to me. This is not a review of the company. This is my experience. Not to mention, as I told your other white buddy in the comment section, a white guy just recently, I explained this is my experience, meaning I'm telling you what happened to me, how I was treated, what I experienced, my observations. I cannot speak for everyone. Yaruki Switch, or specifically Kids Duo, is a large chain school company. It's like working for McDonald's or Walmart or Target or Starbucks. It is impossible to work for that company, just like at Walmart, Starbucks, McDonald's, or whatever, and have the exact same experience as another person. Do you want to know why? Well, let me explain to you why. There's different management. There's different coworkers. There's different cities. There's different salaries. Yes, all of these things vary based off of what location you're working for, who hires you, your experience, etc. I am not new to Japan. And let me also explain to you as well. This is not just my own opinion or experience that is bad, Mr. or Miss. This contradicts my whatever. Do a Google search. If you watch my video, please do a Google search right now and look up the reviews for working at Kids Duo. I talked about this in my video and in my comment section too. I am not the first, last, or only person that has talked about having bad experiences with working for such company. I'm also not the first person to go without receiving salary. But the most common thing that you see amongst people is about how bad the management is and the work life at that school. The micromanagement, the mistreatment of children. This is not just my opinion. This is not just my experience. It's not just because I'm black. It has nothing to do with that. Other teachers are having the exact same experience. 2 claps for you, ho, that you had a wonderful time. But let me also remind you, you do not own the company. I don't know why you all are acting so offended and trying to talk about how wonderful and great your experiences are, because nobody asked about yours. If you want to share how much you love the school, make your own video. The weirder part is, why do you all look for videos on topics that have nothing to do with you? If you already worked for the school and you thought your experience was wonderful, why would you click on a video of somebody talking about their bad experience working there? What are you searching for? I literally don't get that. Not to mention, it's very interesting. White people will defend crappy, bad schools, companies to work for, but then they'll be the same ones working here for 5, 10, 15, 20 plus years, only making 200 or 300,000 yen per month. Guess how much I'm making? Almost double that 300,000 yen as of right now, just from teaching. Let me just keep that in mind to you. Not including anything from YouTube, Patreon, anything else that I'm doing, just from doing teaching. Look at where I'm living right now. I'm not going to bother to step outside. My toe is broken, but I did this before another video. I don't need advice from white people on how I should handle work, how I should choose jobs, etc. because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Okay, so let's move on. Literally the polar opposite. Again, just like with anything, somebody can work at Walmart and have a wonderful time and love their experience working there, climb up the ladder and be like, oh, they treat me wonderful. I get all the hours I could have asked for and I love my employee discount. Whereas another person can get mistreated, overworked, always kept right beneath, stopping for getting full-time hours, etc. Good for you that you can't relate. But by you saying that, even although you tried to act understanding, your comment seemed a little bit in between. It's ultimately unnecessary and unwanted. That would be the equivalent to somebody telling you that they went to an area, they were robbed and arred, and you say, well, I went there, my wallet hanging out, and nobody stole from me, nobody ever arred me. Okay, good for you. Like, nobody asked you. Do you see how insensitive and ignorant that comment would come off as? We get it. Nothing is ever true for everyone in every scenario. But for a lot of people, they can relate to my story. And I imagine there are also a handful of people that are stupid like you that had a wonderful time and enjoyed being underpaid and overworked and having no control over your lessons and being micromanaged by Japanese people. And if you enjoy that, then great for you. 2 claps for you, ho. But we're talking about my experience. Your comment is insensitive and rude, nevertheless, because nobody asked you about your experience. Nobody ever said you can't have a good one. I'm telling you what mine was like. Hence the title of the video. So, let's see. I can understand the things that happen, such as your interview and them having to go to the school for nothing, but the contract is very messed up. Even although you left the little question marks implying that what I'm saying doesn't seem believable. So I don't know how to take that shit, but whatever. We'll let that crap go. But to me, it seems more of a special case. Again, that is the equivalent of saying, well, I go to this place all the time and no one's ever arred me, or I go to Walmart all the time and no one's ever shot me. So it seems like what happened to you is a very special case. Did I say that every time you go to Walmart, you're going to get shot? Did I say every time you go, I don't know, to Times Square late at night, somebody's going to kidnap you and arre you? No. But your comments are unnecessary, unwanted, and dismissive of my experience, dear white person. Nobody asked you, Karen. Good for you. You can't relate and that didn't happen to you. And sorry, but let me break this down to you. My case wasn't a special case. Now, of course, me being in need of that much money that, it really wasn't even a lot of money. It was pennies. But me being in need of money for a train pass to begin the job, yeah, fine. I'm probably a special case for working at such a company. But that's not even the issue at hand here. We're talking about not getting paid for the work that I did, period. And yes, I will agree that right there is a special case for working for the company. But that doesn't have anything to do with the overall theme of the video. It's a bad school to work for. I'm not the only person, and that's definitely not a special case, because the majority of reviews about working there are not good. Another big reason why most people that work for that school don't stay there for the duration of time they're here in Japan. I've gone over this before, but if you live in Japan long term, anybody living in Japan can vouch for me here. You do not meet teachers that are working at the biggest chain schools. That is Kids Dual, Nova, Borderlink, all of these other little ALT companies and, all these chain schools, chain companies are like dispatch teachers, etc. You seldom meet somebody that's been working for the company for more than 2 to 3 years. And that's rare. Most people end up quitting within a year, or they stay for 1 or 2 years, and that's it. People don't normally stay longer than that. And you might think, oh, well, then at least they finished their contract, but hold on. I'm talking people that have been here long term, meaning that the people that have been here for 10, 15, 20, or even 5 years, they've normally had multiple jobs in Japan. They've switched around working for different companies. Why? Because they realize these chain schools, these, whatever companies, they're trash to work for. There are better options. You're offered higher salaries. You get more freedom, more control, etc. They're less restrictive. I'm not the only person that has bad experience working at these companies. Read forums, go to Facebook groups, and see what other people have to say about working there. It's not just me. But of course, this video, as the title fucking says, white people, it's my experience. So I'm speaking on what happened to me and not telling you about what happened to everyone else. But you can easily go to Google, look at Glassdoor, look at Facebook, and read the forums and people talking about their experience working at these companies, specifically Kids Do, and see what they have to say. I don't know why you all get some sort of like weird high off of going to videos or reading, posts of people saying they had a bad experience and feeling the need to chime in and say, well, my experience was wonderful. It reminds me of like the white people like inside the Facebook groups that I'm a part of, where like they'll leave a comment when somebody talks about how they had a bad experience somewhere, and they'll be like, well, I had a wonderful experience in Japan and they were so nice and so lovely, so whatever. It's like, okay. That's good for 2 claps for you, ho. Like, nobody asked you. They're talking about their own bad experience. And it was even crazy. I saw a post from a white person a few months ago. Did I make a YouTube video on this? I think I did. And they were like talking about how they that they don't like looking at the forum questions, etc., because it seems like all people do is complain about Japan. And people were literally like, apologizing, oh, well, yeah, I guess it seems that way. And then there were some smarter white people like, well, we're talking about real life. It's not all cupcakes and rainbows here, basically. This is real life Japan. These are people that are living here. So, yeah, of course, we're asking questions and discussing things that are real life problems. This is off subject, but I even just recently saw a post. If you're living in Japan, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Where I think it was a woman, it was a man that shared his experience about being overcharged here, for going to Japanese hospitals. And immediately, I believe it was actually a Latina girl. It was a Latina and a, white woman. They might have both been white. I don't care about that shit, white Latina, whatever the fuck you want to call yourself. And another white woman. And they instantly chimed in talking about how that's not true and they don't overcharge foreigners and you pay the same amount in national insurance, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, I can tell you from personal experience, I have been overcharged for being a foreigner. Please stop. Now, I got lucky, and because I was a foreigner, specifically American, I talked about how I was able to negotiate a payment plan. And my case was a little bit special. I didn't have health insurance, which is also why, let me remind you white people, my case was special. However, I'm not talking about me. Most foreigners that are living in Japan, especially when we consider the fact that most of them are from third world countries, they're not trusted by Japan. Even if they're working here and doing slave labor and speak Japanese better than both you and I, and possibly even have more skills, but simply come from a poor country, didn't have the money, etc., to get here with ease, they are abused and taken advantage of. And one of the ways this is done is also with healthcare. It is a known fact. Literally, NHK even recently shared an article, and I briefly talked about this before actually in a recent video. They do overcharge people for healthcare because they are foreigners. Sorry. Let me also remind you, just because something is the law or legal, they're not supposed to do stuff, does not mean that they actually follow that crap. For example, it's not supposed to be legal to discriminate against people because they are pregnant, because they are a woman, because they are a foreigner. But any foreigner living here, hello, y'all, please chime in. I'm not alone. They do all of that shit. I think any of us living here for any length of time can tell you cases or stories of people being harassed and bullied and forced to quit their job. Because they were pregnant. Because they, made the wrong person angry, whatever at work. Power harassment is real here. Most of us have experienced either being told that we can't go to a restaurant or bar, or we've seen a sign saying that we can't, or we know of a story from someone else that had that experience. Most of us can also relate to being denied housing. You don't have to personally have that experience to acknowledge that other people do. And if you don't have that experience, nobody needs to hear it if someone's talking about their own situation. I know that's hard for Karens and Chris's to understand. But when people are sharing bad things that happened to them, no one wants to hear about how wonderful your experience was. If you want to kiss Japan's ass and lick and suck on their toes, you have the right to make your own YouTube video. And you can suck all the shit out Japan's ass. But here on this channel, I talk about real life. And when I have good things to say, I make those videos. And when there's bad things to say, I make those videos and I don't hold back. I'm sorry to break it to you, Chris and Karen. So, let's carry on. What else was said? I think you just got really unlucky with the school. No shit. But again, look at how ignorant that is. Do I tell somebody? I think you were just really unlucky. Times Square is a wonderful, safe place, and I love watching the shows and looking at Spider-Man. Like, I don't think anybody would have robbed you on a regular day. You just got really unlucky. That's what you sound like, Karen. Let's move on. And should have walked out during that second interview if you didn't feel positive about it. Yes, of course. I should decide that because I don't feel comfortable and I think that, you all aren't the nicest school, that I should say, you know what, fuck it. I can stay in Japan illegally. I don't need to have a visa. I don't need to have money. I can just sit at home and wait another, 2-3 months and wait for the perfect job to hopefully show up. That's a really smart move for me to make. Why didn't I think of that, Karen? I mean, I'm already broke. I can't get broker, can I? Might as well just stay at home for another 3 months and wait for the perfect job to approach me the perfect way. Didn't I already explain inside my video that my purpose in interviewing and working for this company, despite the fact that I knew that it was supposed to have been a bad company, was because I fell on desperate times, and your comment even acknowledged that. So is this really the time to be nitpicky? Beggars can't be choosers. Let me give you an example. I don't even mean this to be racist or offensive. I'm just keeping it real. Think about how life is in America. There are a lot of foreigners working various jobs, specifically, unfortunately, a lot of people from Mexico. They're easy to exploit because they're our neighboring country, and unlike Canada, most of Mexico is fairly poor. Okay, and the US dollar is worth a lot more than pesos. Okay, with that said, there are tons of people that are willing to work in America doing crappy labor. Are Mexicans stupid? No. They have brains. They know that they're being abused. They know that they're being taken advantage of. They know that they're being underpaid, paid under the table, whatever the case is. But they also recognize it is worth it to do work that you don't like, don't want to do, to get paid. To be able to live in a country that is safe, has a better opportunity for your family and children, receive a better education, live in a safer house, escape from crime, have better access to health care that you did not have in your home country. Sorry, princess, but in real life, most of us don't get to live like you. We just decide, I don't like something, so I'm not going to work, I'm not going to do whatever. That's what happens after you get money. Like, for example, right now, if you watch my content, you would see that. See, I've been in Japan for nearly 10 years, and now I'm at a point where, now that I've gotten over my kids' dual situation, and I've upped my pockets, I have quit jobs since then. You want to know why? Because now I'm in a position to do so. I can decide, I don't like the way that person's treating me, I'm not going to work there anymore. I don't like the salary at this place, I'm going to turn on that job and I'll wait for another one. My patrons has seen me do this pretty much all year. I haven't even worked a day job in practically, 6-7 months now at this point. And do you want to know why I haven't worked a job for nearly 7 months? That's the reason why. Was not offered the salary that I wanted, the position that I want to, and the interview process did not go the way that I wanted it to. I have the freedom and flexibility to do that. I'm living in a fucking penthouse in Shibuya, Tokyo, one of the most expensive cities in the entire world. Okay. I think I know what I'm doing now. I knew what I was doing back then. I thought, and I was right to do that, it made more sense to work a job that you don't like, climb your way up the ladder to get what you want in the future. You have to always have a legal, valid visa in order to live, work, study, whatever, in Japan. My visa is expiring. This is not the time to decide, I want everything to go perfect or I'm not going to work for you, especially when you don't have any other offers on the table. There was also a large gap between my first and second interview. I had invested time, I had invested money. I'm not going to turn away from my job because the staff members don't seem to be the nicest. It's still being an international school teacher. I had never worked there before. And honestly, I've worked for schools where I absolutely loved it, even although my coworkers I did not get along with very well. I've given those examples before too. That's how adults think and function. You prioritize other things. I decided I need to put my needs first. I need a visa. I need money to pay for food and transportation and for my rent. I cannot just say, well, I don't like the way they treat me. I don't like the way they do whatever, so I'm going to wait 6 months to get another job. It's the end of the year. It's hard to find work at the end of the year. You said you watched the video. Your comment actually reads like you did, but apparently you weren't listening to what I was saying. You were listening to respond. So let's go on. White people. I think you just got really unlucky with the school and you should have walked out during the second interview if you didn't feel positive about it. Again, putting the blame on me. So saying, well, if you didn't feel positive about it, you just shouldn't have accepted the job. So instead of acknowledging that the person that I work for is crappy, the blame was thrown back on me by saying, well, you shouldn't have accepted it. But you tell somebody that's in an abusive relationship, well, if you felt that there was a red flag and that the guy was a narcissist, you should have walked away from the relationship. Okay, well, that's the past. I mean, of course, it's easy for you to tell me what I should have done in hindsight because you're hearing the aftermath of what happened. You're not in my situation. I think most of us have dealt with either being friends with somebody or dating somebody that had a crappy personality. Why? Because sometimes you have to learn things from personal experience. And again, in this case, it's two situations. One, learning from personal experience, going through something. I never worked for a company that had all of these problems, to be honest with you. Secondly, not just that, as I explained earlier, making sacrifice, doing what you have to do to survive. It's not about having everything perfect and doing everything the way you want to do it. You don't have to do it forever. That's another story. But I already explained that inside my video, and you clearly got that part by your comment. You're just choosing to be a dickhead, and, white people do typically love to be armchair experts. I already explained the reason why I had accepted the job anyway and went through with it. I didn't say, I love accepting jobs that have red flags and seem like it has crappy management, etc. But the funny thing is, too, now you're saying this inside the comment, pretend like you understand. Even if I were to have no bad experience and just said that I decided not to accept the job, white people like you would still comment and be like, well, actually, I don't think there's a problem with that. That's just life. You need to grow up and be an adult. It don't matter what you say. If you quit a job, it makes people angry because, like, well, you didn't work there long enough. Then it's like, okay, if you choose not to accept, a job offer and not even go through with the interview, then it also upsets you. I was like, well, you should have experienced working there before. Which one is it, Karen? Please explain. Since you know everything, you're so perfect. Which one should I be doing then? Because y'all can't make up your mind. If I decide not to go through after an interview, then it's like, oh, well, you lazy. You want everything to be perfect. And I'm sure people on Patreon probably think that too in some cases, because I've shared more about work on Patreon than I do on YouTube publicly. Then on the flip side, you work at a company, decide not to work there anymore. Then white people also have their 2 cents on why you should have stayed there longer, or they find other things that they thought that you did that made it where you got fired. It's like, I didn't get fired. I quit my job. Let me explain it to you. So, whatever. Anyway, where was I? I get the situation of needing a job and money and being broke to the point you can't even afford transportation. I've been there too. I find that hard to believe based off all the other shit that you just said to me. Because based on what you just said, you just contradicted yourself. I already explained that. You are saying that you understand why I chose to work that job. That's what you're saying to me. You're telling me you know why I chose to work there. Because you've been in my situation before. But then you're also telling me, well, it's my fault. I should have, I saw red flags and I still worked there. And you're also trying to diminish my experience by saying, well, that wasn't my experience. I had the polar opposite. Do you hear yourself? That's like even dating a person that's abusive and being like, well, I dated them and they were super nice to me and they never yelled at me and he never hit. Oh, okay. I'm glad that you experienced the good side of my ex. But guess what? They were shit to me. Why is this so hard for you all to understand? Why are you all so invested in Japan? This ain't your school. It's not your company. You worked for one chain school out of all of their chains. And this is just from what you're saying. You could be a blind, dumb bitch for all I know. You might not even understand that you were being mistreated or underpaid or overworked or had micromanagement. Because to be honest, a lot of foreigners here that don't have any experience teaching abroad in their home countries, they don't recognize that they're not actually given the freedom to teach like how they should for a normal international school. Kids Duo doesn't give you freedom. They pretty much decide the curriculum for you. And not just that, you are constantly being watched by several Japanese staff members. And it's passed off as a they're there to assist you, and they're there to help. No, they're there to snitch on you. They report back to management, making sure you're doing your job. You're not doing anything you're not supposed to do. You're not mistreating the kids, stealing it. And, it does kind of make sense in a way. But it's like, do you not see how racist and distrusting that is for a company? They're saying that they don't trust you as an adult, as a teacher, as an expert, on what you're supposed to be doing, and that you need somebody to babysit and micromanage you. It's not just that kids do it. You see this a lot at after-school programs, too. I worked for a program like that, and I haven't made a video on that school yet, but I plan to do that someday. But that school worked the exact same way. We had like 3 Japanese assistant teachers, and it's like only a few kids inside the classroom. But why? That was the purpose. Their job was to snitch and report back to the manager and let them know every single little thing we did or didn't do. If we don't seem enthusiastic enough, we don't seem like we're engaged enough inside the lesson, we're not dancing around enough and being loud enough or planning lessons the way they want us to, they go back and report to management. That's their purpose. But I'm pretty sure you didn't notice that, right? Of course. Anyway, back on subject. Okay. But most of the things you said that the company told you contradict everything from my experience with them. I already explained this. Nobody asked you what your experience was. Let me tell you guys what the title of this video is. Why I quit my job at Kids Duo, International School, Osaka, Japan. Yaruki switch, and I can't read the rest of it. It has ... I have to click on it later. I took a screenshot. Where in my title do I say, this is exactly what it's like for everyone working at Kids Duo. This is what your experience is going to be like. I say why I quit, meaning my experience. Good for you. You enjoy being underpaid, overworked, and not being trusted. I don't like that sort of environment. And in my case, even though I didn't like the school, I was only working there because I needed visa sponsorship and I needed money. And that didn't even work out. You have almost no critique, no comments on that at all. And really, you don't have any. Everything that you're saying is challenging and questioning what I said about my experience, all the way up to the end of your comment. Because this is what they said. I would like to ask where you got the information that the Yaruki Switch Group is a pharmaceutical company and the money laundering, because from the research I've done, this is the first time I'm hearing of it. Which is exactly why you shouldn't be giving your 2 cents, because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I'm not going to bother to link you to this stuff. If you've gone through the interview process, I'm sure you can go through your emails, look through the paperwork that you've been given, including packets, and see the name of this company for yourself. And I also said that I believe, as in allegedly, I can't tell for certain, but I know for a fact because even the manager told me himself, as well as the woman that was handling the, whatever you want to call it, the recruitment, whatever, but specifically the school owner, their parent company. I didn't say Yaruki Switch, the parent company that really owns both of them is a pharmaceutical company. And that does not sit right with me. That's kind of weird. Why are they investing in a random international school? A little bit sketchy. That's factual. It's not my own opinion or conspiracy, etc. What is a conspiracy that I'm not sure about is the money laundering part. Why is a pharmaceutical company investing in a random international school? That's the issue. If you don't know, don't speak on it like you do. Your whole comment is insensitive, condescending, unnecessary. Nobody asked you what you thought. Nobody asked you about if your experience was good or not. That goes for anything. And I hate to even say this because somebody even left a comment recently. And I'm sorry, girl, but I gotta add you into this video too. And this was a black woman. I left a comment to another person because she had said that she was thinking about going to either China or Japan. And I gave my own 2 cents. And I even said in the comment, this is my own. I literally started the comment saying my own 2 cents that I suggest going to Japan over China. And I gave valid reasoning why, without going into detail. I literally linked another black woman's video that's more experienced with travel than I am, who also had a comment section full of dark-skinned black women from around the world, various countries, various, black countries, or, whatever, European countries too, giving their own experience of what travel was like. And everyone unanimously pretty much said they don't suggest going to China. What happens? Somebody else chimes in. Well, actually, some people have, a great experience in China. I literally said that in my own comment. I said that, yeah, everybody has their own experience. This is just my own 2 cents. But this is what tons of other people have to say. And in my opinion, I wouldn't want to go there. In fact, to be honest, I really wouldn't go to China, really wouldn't want to go there right now. The pandemic came from there. And everything's not done with yet. Not to mention, we're in the middle of the potential of World War III. So that is beyond a dumb idea, in my opinion. I'm not calling a person dumb. I'm saying that the thought of going to China, no, that is off the table. Most foreigners have also left China. I would not be, if most people are leaving a place, it's for a reason. I would not be going there. In fact, to be honest, even living in Japan is probably a bad idea because I'm even having second thoughts about whether I want to stay here or not. Because Japan, this place gonna get nuked if anything does happen. I'm just keeping it real. You do not want to be in the middle of this crossfire, but at least I feel a little bit safer. There is a military presence here, and at least we ain't being treated nearly as bad as foreigners are being treated in China, specifically black foreigners. And this coming from me, my light-skinned self. If you are a dark-skinned black woman, you really gonna probably deal with a lot of the racist issues there because you will not benefit from colorism like how I do. And the reason why I changed the topic and got onto that for a second, let me calm things down, is because this is another prime example of people not being able to read, having selective hearing. I ain't saying you can't work for Kids Duo. I'm telling you why I would not work there, why I quit, telling you my experience. And I also mentioned both in the comment section and in the video. It's not just my own opinion. You can do a Google search on your own, look at Glassdoor, look at any site that allows you to do reviews for working at schools in Japan. And Kids Duo almost unanimously has tons, if not all, nearly all of the reviews are talking about how crappy it is to work for them. And the people that normally like working for the school are people that have no professional experience teaching. People that have experience being a teacher in their respective home country don't like Kids Duo. And beyond just that, again, when you realize after you leave that school and work for another normal international school, you see how restrictive they were because you were a foreigner and how little trust they had towards you. That should be enough within itself right there. And forget about what your experience was. This is about my experience, meaning that we're not judging it based off how happy, how good of a time, how high your salary was there. We're talking about mine, and in my case, you're basically denying and diminishing my experience by telling me, well, you shouldn't have worked there because you said you saw red flags. You shouldn't have worked there if you didn't like the salary. You should. You're just telling me all this crap, and that's besides the point. I worked there. They didn't pay me. They mistreated me. Stop trying to victim blame and push it off onto me by saying, well, you shouldn't have worked there then. Your other buddy, well, you should have worked there longer. Do you tell someone in an abusive relationship to date the abusive person longer to see if they change? Like, does that make any sense to you? If someone claims somebody was, bad to them or abusive or whatever to them, do you say, well, they didn't do it to me? What? So somebody isn't willing or capable of changing in a relationship? Because think about it this way. Men that cheat, when they find the right person, they stop. My ex-fiance is a prime example. He ain't never cheat on me. I can tell you that with great certainty. He spent every single second with me. Every second. Had no interest in it. Spent money on me too. He didn't do none of that crap with his ex-girlfriend. You want to know why? She wasn't the one. I came along. He was older, more experienced, more serious, wanted to settle down. He stopped with all that F-boy activity. He changed. Why? He met the right person. He's in the right stage in his life. Okay. Companies work the exact same way too. If a company decides they don't like an employee, they can treat them like trash. They can also treat another employee angelic and angel-like. I give that example when I was talking about being at abroad. A lot of their prior employees that worked there did a lot of crazy stuff I would never dream of doing, like cursing out management, etc. My manager yelled at me because I was asking for help and explained that I didn't really understand how to put things together for what they call YEP, year-end performance. And he had to come back and apologize for me, which at least I'll give him props that he did that. But it's like, okay, you yell at me because you felt that I was asking a question that should have been asked earlier, but I did ask earlier, and basically you just didn't like my ideas and didn't feel like I was being creative enough. But then you allow my coworkers to slam doors in your face, to throw things, to interrupt you, to complain. They can do all of that crap, and to me that's unprofessional and worthy of getting fired over. I get stressed out one day at work and decide that I don't think online teaching is for me and that I need to quit, and I can't come back to the company. Like, wow, that's crazy. And not just that, then you start making up false rumors about me being an alcoholic, etc. Like, do you see what I'm saying? And then what do white people have to say? Well, you shouldn't have, had alcohol at work. I would have fired you. They didn't fire me. That happened almost a year ago, and it was used as an excuse to explain to the parents why I was no longer working. They tried to make it sound like I was sick. They tried to make it sound like I was a bad teacher, etc. But for some reason, white people just can't handle minorities having bad experiences. That's like kryptonite for white people. Force them to listen to bad experiences that black people have had. And I swear it drives them crazy. They just can't handle it. I even gave both schools the benefit of the doubt and admitted this is my experience. But as a part of my experience, I would never recommend someone that I love, that I'm close to. I would not suggest working for either of those companies. Why? Because they have the potential to treat you badly. And anyone with the brain should realize, if you're willing to turn on a teacher that's been working for you, I helped them out. They were having difficulty. They tried to hire like 3 or 4 different teachers for my position, and all of them quit. One of them even took the visa and then dipped on the job. Or so the staff said. Then you find somebody that fills the position in the middle of the year, does an excellent job, the parents love them. I'm still in contact with those parents from that school, might I add. My students send me videos. Instead of you trying to work or negotiate or understand them, you treat me like I'm a piece of dirt. Like, okay, whatever. Next teacher, I don't care. Let's move on. Why would you want to work for a school that's capable of doing that? But again, of course, I get it. Becky syndrome. You've decided in your mind, well, I'm better than that black bitch. I think that my experience is going to be better. Okay, well then go ahead. Have fun. But keep in mind, this video is titled My Experience. And a part of my experience, I'm also telling you as a friend, I would not work for this company. But really the highlight of my video is telling you, which I said several times in the video, this was my experience. This is what happened to me. I don't need some random Becky denying my experience and telling me, well, that's not what happened to me. It's the polar opposite. It contradicts. And that doesn't even make any sense. A contradiction is something that you say yourself, not something, it's an action or something that you do yourself. It kind of makes sense. I get what you're trying to get at, but that's not how you would use contradiction. It would normally be like, for example, if I say, don't drink water. Water is bad for you. Water is horrible. I would never drink water. I'm contradicting myself. If I were to say, oh my God, men are disgusting. I hate men. Men are awful. And then I get pregnant by a man and I'm married to one and I'm taking pictures and we're all happy together. That's a contradiction. If I say, something that I say something's bad, and then I am praising it suddenly, or I'm doing it suddenly. That's a contradiction. You having a different experience, it makes sense, but you don't really use the term contradiction or even whatever else. The word that you use today makes sense. Polar opposite experience, which, yeah, nobody asked you. Like, good for you. Like, why do I would love to know, like, can somebody please explain to me, like a white person, why do white people like to brag about having good experiences in places that other people had bad ones? That's just so weird to me. And the crazy thing is, white people are the biggest ones behind all these little feminist movements, etc. And it's like, okay, so you all know firsthand, y'all be trying to call everything R nowadays too, because you don't want to take ownership of the fact that you made slutty decisions. I told you I was inside of a forum, and I was reading from this girl trying to act like she had been R'd, and I'm like, you willingly went to a love hotel with a dude, chose to sleep with him because you decided that you didn't want to wait for the train to come, or walk home, or get a taxi or whatever. He didn't, you could say he coerced you, but nobody R'd you. You willingly chose to do that. You just feel bad and slutty about your decision. And it reminds me of the case with this black man that was dating this white girl. And she decided for whatever reason that she regretted sleeping with him and wanted to, down her body count. And decided that she was going to go to the police, said that this man R'd her. Dude went to prison, lost his career as, being a, college football player and everything. She served no jail time, no fine, no nothing for lying on him. He got lucky that he was released and his case was proven, innocent or whatever. And he got lucky only because there were text messages and voice recordings or whatever that she had sent to one of her friends talking about she wasn't sure if she was or not. Like stuff like that. And it's like, okay, so you all understand what victim blaming is when it's convenient and fits the narrative that you want. But when you're hearing about bad experiences that other people have had, for example, like with the police, that drives you all crazy. It's like, well, Officer Friendly was friendly to me. Okay, bitch, like, good. Nobody ever said police officers are bad to everyone and they don't do any. I still call 911 when I'm in trouble. Okay? That does not take away from the bad and crooked cops. Do you not get, like, how does that not register and make sense to you? For example, as women, we recognize that we are more likely to encounter trouble from men than we are women. That does not mean that women are not capable of kidnapping, killing you, or anything else, but we recognize men are more of a threat to us. So we are more cautious when we are meeting a man to hang out with and go on a date with than we are when we want to hang out with a woman. Speaking from a straight perspective, I'm not getting into all that politically correct shit. We are more cautious with men than we are with women for that reason. Does that mean that women can't harm us? No. It means they're significantly less likely to. There's less of a threat that exists there. Someone saying they had a bad experience with someone doesn't mean that everybody. Think of the most awful, evil, annoying person you know of. Believe it or not, there are thousands of people, if not millions, that love that person, have a great experience with that person. Why? Because your experience is individual and unique to yourself. You might share it with other people, but your specific experience is always going to be individual. Why? Because you had a special relationship and encounter with that person than what I did and what the next person did. You can literally sit in the same meeting with somebody and feel differently about someone that was speaking as a guest speaker. One person might have absolutely loved the conference. Another person can hate it and be like, oh, this dude's full of himself. Another person, oh, this is boring, annoying. Whatever the case is. We all experienced the same thing, but we all felt differently about it. Okay, you worked for the same company, but not the exact same branch. You didn't have the same manager. You didn't have the same coworkers. You were not in my position financially. You might have felt like you were at some point. But clearly your ignorant, entitled comment shows that you can't relate to being desperate and in need. And also notice that your whole comment was focused on me accepting the job, and you gave no criticism or critique about the company not paying me. I said this before, and it's funny. It literally works like magic. Sorry, y'all, my nose itches. Every single white person that's ever comments on that video, they do the exact same thing. There's never any critique or criticism about why was I not paid? Why was my time wasted? You have almost nothing to say about them. Your focus is on, well, my experience is wonderful, so I don't know what you're talking about. You shouldn't have accepted the job, and that would have never happened. Dismissive, rude, and ignorant. Another white guy commented, said, what was he saying? He was talking about how my video wasn't helpful, whatever. And I'm like, I forgot his exact words were. I shared the post. I'm going to share this comment too on Patreon, so they'll see your name. But I shared this post on, I shared this post on Patreon. And I can't remember his exact words. He was basically going along and saying like, oh, this wasn't helpful for his interview. And I'm like, where in my title do I say this is interview advice? How to get a job at Kids Do? Nowhere in my title. It literally says why I quit. How retarded do y'all white people have to be? Y'all just argumentative. It just blows my mind. Like why is it so difficult for you all to listen to someone's bad experience and just be like, wow, I'm glad that didn't happen to me. And instead, you don't have to say it to people too. Let me also remind you, when you have a good experience, somebody else had a bad one, maybe because you all have spoiled ass parents that don't teach you all any better. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say nothing at all. And that includes with experiences. If you can't relate to somebody's bad experience, nobody wants to hear about your good one. That's like talking, like if I made a video talking being in a foster care system, being an orphan or whatever, and you say, well, I was born to 2 happy, loving parents, and we had a great salary, and I had a great education. Do you not realize how insensitive and ignorant that is? Nobody asked you about how great and wonderful your life was and how much money your parents had, how your mom and dad were doctors. Nobody asked you. Your comment is rude, ignorant, insensitive, unwanted. Why is that so hard for you all to understand? I just don't get it. I don't get it. Nobody's saying that you gotta lie and pretend like you can relate to me and that all of your experiences working in Japan have been bad. I didn't say that. But because you did not have the same bad experience, unless you're gonna chime in and share something equally bad or similar or give comfort and say, I'm sorry you had a bad experience, nobody wants your comment. It doesn't take a fucking rocket science. Just like that girl that left that comment saying, well, I know if people had a great experience in China. At least this person didn't go there yet, because I don't know if she might reply back later. I didn't say you can't have a good experience. We're talking about giving advice, and this person says she's trying to do an internship. You gave 2 options, Japan and China. If I'm weighing the 2, it's a no-brainer. Duh, I'm going to go with Japan. Not talking to her, I'm saying no duh, no-brainer for me. And so I even said I'm giving my own 2 cents. I didn't say I'm God, do what I say. I said, this is my opinion, my own 2 cents. And to make my 2 cents valid, because I've never been to China, I shared what other people's experiences in China have been like by giving a link to another video. You can actually do a search on YouTube and see black people's experiences in China. And it's much worse than what that link shared. But the thing that I liked about the link that I gave her, it was specifically a safe spot for black women. And it appeared to be mostly dark-skinned black women. And the reason why I mentioned that part for the white people, like, oh, why does it matter? Well, let me also explain to you, since you all don't see color, everybody else, including you, they kind of fucking do. It affects us. So with that said, my experience even here in Japan is going to be much better than that of a dark-skinned black person. Why? Because I benefit from colorism. And even better than that, I'm an American. And even better than that, just keeping it real, I also have a certain phenotype. I have, loose curls or whatever. I can go outside wearing my naturally curly hair and nobody's going to laugh at me and point and make... I cannot go outside if I had an afro without that happening, because then people, think I look like a clown. Whatever the case is. Totally different reaction. Just keeping it real. I also have longer hair than most black people. And this is even with my hair being damaged. My hair is longer than most black people. I can comfortably walk outside like this without having to worry. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm not sugarcoating and being PC. Okay, that's the reason why I mentioned that. I don't know what her fears or experiences or whatever else is. I'm not trying to control her. But my point is, oh my god, I can't even mess with my words. I hate whenever people do crap like that. It's like, it goes without saying, Captain Obvious. Yes, we get it. There's always going to be some unicorn that thought everything was cupcakes and rainbows, and they loved Japan, they loved China, there were no issues anywhere, and everyone was so happy, and everyone was hugging them and wanted to take pictures together. We get that. We get that. Nobody said you can't have a good experience. When people are making a recommendation, that means you're telling them, on average, this is what you can expect. It does not cover every base. That does not mean everybody has to have a bad experience. Somebody's going to have a good one. That's just life. In my case, with this video, I'm not even giving you advice on whether you should work for them or not. I'm doing a fucking story time. This is not advice time. I don't need your unwanted advice where you're telling me what you would have done, what I should have done. I'm telling you what happened, bitch. Excuse my language. God, why are you so damn annoying? Nobody asked you, Karen. Nobody asked you, Chris. I'm telling you what happened to me. I did not ask what you think you would have done. It's easy for you to say because you're the armchair expert. You're listening to my story from the outside. Please tell me about every company you worked for, every relationship that you've ever had, every financial deal that you made. And I'm pretty sure that I can sit back and play armchair expert with you too and tell you what you should and shouldn't have done as well. You see how stupid and annoying that would be? Okay, please shut up, you silver spoon hoes. So anyway, back on subject. That's something that irritates me too. Now in your case, you claim that you can relate to me with financial trouble. But it's like for a lot of you all, y'all can't even relate to what I'm saying because you've never been in such a situation. Most of the white people that live here in Japan, especially students, their parents are paying for their college experience. You're not worried about paying your rent. You're not worried about buying food, clothes, anything else. Your mommy and daddy are sending you monthly care packages and shit. You talk to them every day. You got their credit card here. You have help and money that I did not have. Thus, you cannot fully relate to my experience. Thus, I don't want to hear shit from you about what you think I should do, or what I should have said, or what I should. Yet easy for you to say. Because you have things being handled for you. You were born into a loving family that had money. You can't relate to my struggle. In this situation, good for you. You didn't have a bad experience working there. But your ignorant comment is taking away from my experience and belittling me. And basically, you're being ignorant and insensitive. You're telling me, well, I had a good experience. So yeah, that's just you. Do you go to an orphans channel that's talking about their bad experience being in the foster care system and not having good parents or whatever that adopted them by saying, well, I live in America and I'm a middle class, in a middle class family too, and my parents did X, Y, Z. We went to Hawaii and we did X, Y, Z. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Yeah, of course you had a great experience. You didn't quite exactly have the same stories. Or let's say you have the same experience. You also grew up in a foster care system and you had a great adoptive family. Okay, can we be honest and acknowledge the fact there are plenty of people that age out of the system? There's plenty of people that do get adopted but have horrible parents. Can we just acknowledge that? Can y'all stop trying to, compete? I can't even call it oppression Olympics. Experience Olympics. You talk about a story with a bad cop, a white person got to tell you how wonderful their experience was. You talk about a bad employer, a white person got to tell you how wonderful. And did it ever cross your mind that maybe your experience was good because you were white? Or Latino, whatever the fuck you want to be today? Did that ever cross your mind? I know it hasn't. Because y'all don't see color, right? I'm not even making this a racial issue. I'm just saying that there's even possibility for that too. But y'all are too busy thinking about yourself. You don't see color. You don't see the silver spoon hanging out your mouth. It's so annoying. And again, the crazy thing is, you talk about how you did research. Well, if you did your research on the school, please tell me about all the bad reviews that you read about working there too. And like in most schools, you might have to do a little bit of digging to find the bad reviews. Because they make fake reviews to make people interested in working there and putting their kid inside the school. They're smart. They know what they're doing. I've worked for other companies that I actually enjoy working for. And even they have. In fact, my last job had fake reviews. Several of them to boost up their score. When I worked at abroad, they have fake reviews on their website too. Not on their website, on Google too. I'm sure they have them on the website as well. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Why is that so hard for you to understand? You claim you did research. And then for the last part, and then I'll wrap this video because we're almost at an hour. It's not my job to do your research. And I'm really not going to do it because you completely dismissed everything that I said earlier. So now I don't even find it necessary to share my information that I do have about this whole pharmaceutical company, etc. If somebody cares to help you out and they want to leave a comment giving you a link to the company that I'm talking about, I'll actually leave their comment there for you. But I'm not going to entertain it. And just to let you know, sweetheart, Miss Colonial Karen, I blocked you from my channel because I ain't got time for your bullshit. So, you can watch my video. I'll gladly accept your money, but you no longer have permission to comment anymore. But yeah, what was I about to say? If somebody wants to leave a link telling you what I know, then yeah, they can do that for you. But if you work for Kids Duo, you can literally look inside of the booklet that they give you. I'm pretty sure it's also even said through the emails, they name another company. It's not Yuruki Switch. It's not Kids Duo. I don't even remember the name. I have to go back to my email. There's a pharmaceutical company that ultimately owns them. That's the parent company. You can vouch for me and back that up. I'm not just pulling shit out of my ass. Which is also why that was not the highlight of the video. I was just adding everything because I was giving my story time and telling you my whole experience and telling you everything that led up to the end. Red flags that I ignored, etc. I didn't say that there were no red flags. I'm being honest and telling you there were some bad things, and I chose to work anyway. However, that's besides the point. The company is bad. It doesn't matter why they are bad. That's the equivalent of saying to somebody, well, if McDonald's is such a bad company, why you choose to work there? You should never accept the job. Did it ever cross your mind that maybe people need money? And when you need money, you don't have the position to be trying to be choosy about where you get your money from or how you make it. You're looking for something legal that's stable. I'm sure most people working for retailers know that you have to deal with crappy customers like Karens like you that complain and bitch about everything. Delivery drivers know that you all love to make up excuses to not tip. They know all of that crap. And I see people all the time like, oh, you shouldn't have worked there. You know what you're getting yourself into. Welcome to real life, where people have to make a living and things are not handed to them. And you have to make hard decisions. And poor people decisions too, might I also add. Everybody doesn't have the luxury of saying, well, you're not paying me enough, so I'm just going to sit at home and I'm going to wait a few months and shop around. That's not real life for everyone. Especially not in Japan. But honestly, even more so in America. I mean, y'all are literally competing for retail jobs. In Japan, I can literally apply to every retail store around me, and I will at least get an interview at all of them within a week. At least an interview. Like, I'm not even going to say job offer, but at least an interview. And I'd probably say 9 out of 10 jobs that I apply to would hire me. Why? It's not competitive here. Why? Because most adults in Japan either have a degree or they have a career or both. Not the same in the US. The people that are working in retail in Japan are typically old people or very young people. In America, we got a blend of every age. We got grown folk doing teenage jobs. People, 20 plus years old, still working retail jobs, not even in school, just working retail for life. Switching from job to job. Can't relate in Japan. So, we don't get into all that crap. But all I gotta say is this. If you don't know what you're talking about, don't say shit. You don't have anything positive to say about my experience. Any experiences that you want to share that are relatable to the person that's making a video about something negative, nobody wants to hear it. Your comment is condescending, it's rude, it's insensitive. You tried to keep it neutral, but the undertone of what you're saying remains the same. You're essentially saying, because my experience was good, and because I can't find information on what you said, what you're saying is untrue, you're a special case. And I suggest working there because my experience was lovely. Why would you click on a video where somebody's telling you why they quit working somewhere then? If you already worked here before and you loved it so much. Like, and then the fact that you even left a comment. And you appear to have watched the whole video. And then your comment even contradicts what you're saying. You're saying that you understand why I worked there. But then you're also blaming me for working there for why my experience was bad and I shouldn't have worked the job. Instead of saying this is a crappy employer, what they did was wrong, and condemning them. You're busy focused on the fact I should never accept the job and I shouldn't have worked there and it's my fault, basically. And like I said, the same thing goes for retail jobs. People work where they can to get money. So do you say, well, I get it that Karen cursed you out because, you forgot to add the extra bacon on her, double cheeseburger. But if you didn't want that to happen, then you shouldn't have worked at McDonald's. No. Can we just hold the customers accountable for treating the employees like shit? Does that make too much sense for white people? Chris, Karen, I'm asking you, you all can talk. Please tell me, colonizers. Do y'all not understand that concept? Working a retail job does not mean I deserve to be putting up with abuse, having people throw shit at me. Because that's happened to me before too. I'm not a punching bag. I'm a broke human being trying to make a legal, honest living. And you want to know what you white people also do? When you choose to do illegal work, you're the first people to say, well, if you were following the rules and obeying the police, you would never been in that situation to begin with. We work legal jobs and you all abuse us, treat us like trash. Then you tell us, well, you chose that job. We don't have enough money and we need to be put on benefits. Then you complain that we're, taking your tax dollars, etc. But it's like, okay. You all are literally saying that we deserve crappy salaries, but then you all will lose your crap. And you all have been. When you don't have enough poor retail workers doing the dirty crap for you. Like making your burgers, cleaning your tables. Then you complain, this place is dirty. This line is too long. Why do you think that is? Because people like you support underpaying them, overworking them, treating them like trash, making their life hell working for the company. And you blame the employee for taking the job instead of taking accountability for the fact that you have decided, I'm not going to tip, I'm going to treat you like trash. I'm going to have an attitude. I'm going to have anger issues and take out, my crap on you. Which is so funny because for a lot of these white people, they work white-collar professional jobs. And they could not handle somebody treating them like that or talking to them like that. And many of them have children that are working retail jobs. And they'll be pissed off if their little Johnny and Susie, their little Connor or Aiden were to come home and tell them that they were being treated badly by customers or whatever. You'd be on their side and agreeing with them. But for some reason, let somebody else tell you that. Well, you shouldn't have worked that job. You shouldn't have done pizza delivery then. Ask your employer for more money. If you can't handle being yelled at, then don't work there. Do my order perfectly. I would love to see your fat Karen ass work behind that counter. And y'all seem to take that same shit here to Japan. Most foreigners working and teaching in Japan have quit their job for similar reasons. If you look at almost any chain school, in fact, not any, all of them, every single chain school, Nova, GABA, Kids Duo, all of them are full of bad reviews. People giving their 2 cents on how trashy it was to work for them. And you want to know what also happens? Every time I've made a video talking about any of these companies, there's a white person got to come in and tell you, well, actually, I had a wonderful experience working there. Y'all too much for me. It just kills me. Like, y'all, and then it's crazier too, because like my video isn't even giving you advice on how to interview. I'm telling you my experience why I decided not to work there. I can tell you that my manager stabbed me, and that's why I quit my job. And y'all will be like, well, I mean, maybe if you were, in dress code, or maybe if you stayed at work, 15 minutes after like everybody else, then maybe they wouldn't have been so angry and they wouldn't have, hurt you. Can we just acknowledge the fact that the manager was crappy? And stop trying to victim blame people? We didn't ask for what you think led up to what happened. Let me also remind you, I said this before, white people. I'm not setting the stage for you to tell me what I did wrong. I'm telling you all of the details to make my story complete. Because what a lot of people do during story times, whenever they tell a story period in life, they only tell their side of the story. My goal was to tell both sides of the story, which is also why I balanced it and I explained I understand from an employer's perspective. I also explained every detail of me working there so that you have a full picture. For example, I talked about this at abroad. If I were to just say my school lied on me and said that I was an alcoholic and I didn't give you any history for where that rumor came from, it wouldn't have made any sense. But I explained I gave them an inch and they took a mile with it as blackmail. I stupidly drank a Chew High, which was like a 1% alcoholic drink. Didn't even finish it. I had like 2 sips. It was a watermelon beer, basically, during my lunch on an empty stomach, and it made me feel sick. I spit it out, poured it down the sink, and I had to swallow the bad taste with some croissants that I got from the convenience store for $1. I had no money. I was a new teacher. I didn't even know you couldn't do it because I understand it, I guess, in the U.S. But mind you, I have no experience being an adult and being a teacher in the U.S. This is all new to me in Japan. I was a new teacher. And in Japan, drinking is extremely common. It's everyday culture here. I didn't know. It sounds so stupid and crazy to you. But hear me out from my perspective. I became an adult in Japan. People drink around me all the time. I'm not a drinker. My job didn't mind, didn't care. They understood. They told me not to do it. I apologized. They admit that they understood and they knew it was out of character for me. It never happened again. 6 months later, I received a raise and a new contract asking me to teach for the next year. And I did start off at the beginning of the school year. They didn't fire me. They had no critiques or criticisms during my evaluation, my yearly evaluation. The only thing they said to me was they wanted to see more student work up on the wall and for me to do a better job of ending my lessons so that the students understood what we just did. So both entering into a lesson and ending it so they can understand why we're doing something and, what the overall message was at the end of the lesson. That's what they told me. Those are my 2 pieces of criticism, if you will. Nothing about being a bad teacher and not know what I'm doing, etc. But after I quit, they were singing a whole nother song. What did white people get from that? Instead, Karen and Chris couldn't wait to jump to the defense of my school and say, well, I would have gotten rid of you too, and try to blame me. And I'm like, they didn't fire me. And that wasn't relevant. I was just telling you my entire experience working at the company, leading up to me choosing to quit. Sorry, my phone. I wanted the whole story to be there because most people don't do that. And by me giving you the whole story, now you understand where that rumor came from. So you see, they took a small bit of truth. I'm not going to deny that truth. I could do that. Y'all would never know. But I wanted to tell the truth. I did have alcohol at work and it was stupid. But I didn't know any better. And I even acknowledged it and admitted the truth to my employer. And they knew that. But they realized this is a way that I can sabotage her. I can exaggerate what really happened. That's a scary thing. People can literally say and accuse you of anything, and it's just your word against theirs. Because in that case, how can I prove that didn't happen? There's no cameras. I'm not friends with anybody from that school. Who's going to come to my defense? In fact, the two people that were coming to my defense, now they're mad at me too. They were initially. But do you see what I'm trying to say? I'm telling you what happened. I'm not asking you for advice on what you think I should have done. Yeah, in hindsight, it makes sense, but view it from a Japanese perspective. When you go out to eat during your lunch break here, a lot of the restaurants offer sets and meals that come with beer. And I even told my boss that. I openly told him, I was like, I've just been avoiding having it because I don't drink beer. But I could have got cocktails and beer several times when I was going out to these burger places, etc. with my coworkers and getting burritos and stuff. We can smoke on our lunch break, but we can't drink. I didn't say drink to get drunk. I mean just a single. You're not going to get drunk off of a beer with a damn cheeseburger. It's too greasy. We got almost an hour break. In fact, most of my coworkers do get an hour. I get a 40-minute break, though. Like, do you see what I'm trying to say? Of course you don't, because you're white. So, I'm done. We're at over an hour at this point. All I gotta say is, I just, as long as y'all keep giving me these comments, I'm gonna just keep making videos. I'm sorry for my subscribers having to watch it. I'm sorry for raising my voice, but I think it's so sad that you all lack the ability to not only comprehend what people are saying to you, but you all lack empathy. You can't understand what somebody's going through, and instead being like, oh, okay, wow, I'm sorry that happened to you. I can't relate, basically. And instead, you have to, that last part is what you all stick on, the I can't relate part. Nobody that went through something bad wants to hear that you can't relate. If you are making a video talking about domestic violence and being physically abused by your spouse, do you want to read a comment from somebody saying, my spouse treats me wonderfully. They're such a loving spouse and he's such a manly man. Like, do you want to read that crap? No. It's irrelevant to what you're talking about. It's condescending. It's insulting. It's rude. And for somebody to be like, well, maybe he wouldn't have been beating on you if you dressed more feminine. What? So, I'm sorry, my nose is itching. I'm done. I give up. It's a waste of time. Like, anytime you say anything about Japan, it has to be a perfect experience. It has to be whatever experience other white people had. Because if not, you all are going to sit back. You can't even listen to a damn story time. It's a story time. Nobody asked you what you think should happen. Nobody asked you what happened to you. I'm telling you what happened to me. You already dismissed my entire video. Then you have the audacity to ask me to give you my research and tell you where did I get this information from. What, so you can contradict that too and be like, well, actually, it's totally normal for other companies to own. Please stop. I'm done. Anyway, I know what happened to me. I know what happened to other people because I've been in Japan possibly longer than you have. And forget about how long I've been here. You can literally read reviews from other people that have worked for this company. And while you won't normally see anything about money per se, you will see that everybody has the same stories about management, coworkers, Japanese staff being crappy. It's not just me. You had no critique for any of that. In fact, you even just talked about the interview process, but you ain't say shit about what happened to me actually working there or how they handled me leaving there. No comments on that. Interesting. And that's why I said, see, white people listen to your stuff not to hear the whole story. They just want to judge and critique you and talk about what you should have done. They don't want to talk about the actual employer. They want you to be at fault. Because if you were really trying to be balanced, like how you tried to make your comment sound, why did you have anything to say about how they handled things on a professional level? Instead, you're blameless. And I'll give you props. At least you admitted that indirectly there were red flags and that I just shouldn't have worked there. But that's also being dismissive. Because now you're ultimately putting the blame back on me. So instead of saying the employer treated you bad, it's like, well, you shouldn't have worked there because the employer was bad. That's what you basically just said to me. So I'm officially done. Like I said, I could go on forever. I'm through. I've already made literally 3 or 4 videos now, just replying to white people's comments on that video. And I love what that white guy, his comment there, because it was so stupid with him saying that it wasn't helpful, whatever, because I was just complaining, like, dude, it's a story time. Look at the title. It says why I quit. Not, here's advice on how to get a job at Kids Duo. If you need advice for working at a shitty-ass company like that, you're stupid. It's a pretty straightforward interview. Not to mention, I actually do have videos telling you how to get jobs and this crap. So, and I'll continue to make more. But, man, that just aggravates me so much. Like, why is it so hard for y'all to understand? I said I was going to be calm. Y'all making me angry. Nobody can complain but you. So if you have a bad experience, then it's okay to talk about it. Somebody else has a bad experience, you gotta find a way to make it that person's fault. I should have chose better. I shouldn't have worked there. I should have done whatever. Yeah, of course, everything's always my fault, right? No fault on the school. This isn't even a matter of taking accountability, well, I take my accountability, you take yours. That's not what's going on here. We shouldn't be held to the same standards. This is a whole fucking company. They're a business, they're a school. And I said that in my video too. I think I said in my comment section as well. On a personal level, well, sure, I can understand your frustration, upset, whatever feelings. As a business, your reputation is on the line. You don't treat your employee like that. What they did is by far more unprofessional than anything that I could have done. And same thing goes for abroad. Like I said, Miss Silver Spoon Karen, when you need money and you need a visa, and you don't have silver spoons in your mouth, you don't have mommy and daddy's credit, and you don't have a Japanese husband, you don't have the luxury of deciding, I don't like the way this interview went, so I'm not going to accept that job. In my case, there was like a good month gap between my first and second interview. And I really went up there like 3 different times, if I recall, at least twice, before I actually started working. After you've invested that much time and money, and you're on your last leg trying to figure out how am I going to have money, how am I going to pay my rent, etc., your advice is beyond stupid. Now, in my case, I happen to have gotten unlucky, and even with me trying to do the very best that I could, it still didn't work out. I didn't get a visa, didn't get money. I was thinking logically on how I can try to get this, instead of being lazy and, whatever you want to call it, entitled and saying, I don't like the way you treated me, I don't like the way this environment feels, so I'm just not going to even try to move forward. I did so much of what I could. I showed up to work, even though I had practically no money. I did what I could. And because you can't relate, maybe you should shut the fuck up, Karen, and listen to somebody that can. Maybe you might learn something. Maybe you might see, maybe everyone doesn't have the same cupcakes and rainbow experience that I do. Just like with the girl that's the comment about China, Captain Obvious, both of you. Sorry keeping it real, I'm sorry for being bitchy, I gotta say what I gotta say. Nobody said that you can't have a good experience somewhere with something. But if you're giving someone advice on something, you would tell them what the average experience is like. On average, most people that work for Kids Duo did not have a good experience working there. It's not just my own 2 cents. Do a Google search. Go to forums and ask people what their experience is like working there. The pay is low for a reason. It's a chain school for a reason too. Anytime you're dealing with a school that has hundreds of locations, that's always a red flag here. That is my point. If you can't relate, listen and you might learn something. Don't listen to tell people what you think. And it's so funny because these Karens, they don't like being told what to do. If you tell them how they should discipline their kids or how they should go about doing anything, they'll give you 101 excuses for why you're wrong and it's their life, they should do X, Y, Z, whatever. But then they love to police and tell you what you should do. Anytime you speak on a bad experience with anything in America, in Japan, I don't know what country this person's from. They could be from America, Canada. I don't give a fuck what race you are. I don't give a fuck what country. I don't even care if you're black, to be honest with you. They always feel the need to tell you, my experience was wonderful. Nowhere in my video did I say nobody can have a good experience. That goes without saying. I'm talking about my bad experience. When people speak on domestic violence, they're not saying it's impossible to get married, don't get married because you're going to get battered. They're telling you, this was my experience. Why is that so difficult for you to understand? Me speaking on my bad experience is not going to threaten or take away from your good experience, Karen. Me telling you why I wouldn't work somewhere, Chris, does not mean that you can't work there. I'm telling that I wouldn't do it. So if you choose to work there, do it at your own risk. y'all are so quick to defend a well-known shitty company in the Gaijin community here in Japan. It just blows my mind. This isn't even a prestigious school. Y'all are so defensive over it. Why? Because you work there. Same thing goes with Nova. I had somebody leave a comment on one of my videos talking about how they wouldn't say it's easy to get a job there and that they would say that it is prestigious. That is literally the entryway for most foreigners coming to Japan. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Because I ain't trying to go in on people. But it's like, you can like where you work. But we ain't got to lie and sit here and pretend like it's hard to get a job at Nova and Gabba. We ain't got to lie and pretend like it's some uppity school and it's a really prestigious company to work. It's not. It's not. That's why the turnover rate is so high. Come on. But y'all got to take it personally. Because you're white and you benefited from the system and you had a wonderful time there. So now, if anybody says they didn't have a good time or tell you like, hey, it's not a good company to work for, you are convinced that it's good because you work there. Or you currently work there right now. Can you separate your whiteness and your white identity from your career? Like, I don't see why that's so difficult to do. There are people that don't like working in international schools, which I do not understand why anybody would say that, but there's people that don't like working it. They prefer being an ALT, and I completely disagree. ALT is the worst job you can do here. I'd rather be a teacher at an Eikaiwa at a language school over being an assistant. Who wants to be a damn assistant? Over being an assistant language teacher. However, once again, everybody has their own taste. So if you're asking me for my opinion, I'm going to tell you it's crappy. I'm going to tell you why. You ask somebody else, they love it. They don't like working with kids. They don't like doing real lesson plans. They don't like having total freedom. They don't like being responsible for an entire classroom. They like switching from class to class and going from school to school. They like that shit. For me, I don't. I want my own office space. I want to be able to decorate. I want to have control over what I teach, when I teach, etc. without having to go through you and a school system playing all these dumbass games with the management of the schools. Some people love that crap. It just ain't for me. Same thing goes with the JET program. It's extremely constrictive of how much salary you're going to get paid. You can't even choose where you're going to work at. Come on. Who would want to work in the middle of nowhere in Japan? Some people like that crap. Some people like the mystery of not knowing where you're going to get placed. I don't like any of that shit. And there's plenty of people that agree with me on that too. But if you say that, like I said, people treat the JET program like a fucking sorority. I made a video about that for Patreon that'll get posted later. But it's like, okay, like nobody said that you can't have a good experience. We're talking about most people. And keep in mind, most people that are teaching in Japan come here from one of those two ways. The JET program or through one of these chain schools. And guess who doesn't stay? The people that come to Japan those ways. Just keeping it real with you. In fact, I believe a lot of people that stay on a JET program is because they kind of have to. Because if you quit your contract, you get X'd out of the program. You can't decide that you hate Japan and then they go move you to Korea. You got to honor your contract. You combine that with the fact that on average, your starting salary is higher than what most ALTs get, or teachers here, period, get on average for your starting salary. So yeah, and especially if you don't have a relevant degree, it's a really easy way to earn teaching experience without putting in much effort. But to me, it's like, if you have a relevant degree, why would you not want to work for a school directly, be a direct hire, instead of work for a dispatch company yourself, where your pay will be much more? I know people that have master's degrees that are on the JET program that are getting paid $1,000 less than me, and they've been in Japan for 10 years. So, whatever, to each their own. I'm not going to get into that. That's a whole other video. But all I got to say is, I get it, Karen. I understand you had a good experience. I'm not denying your good experience. That's the point. It's like, I'm not going to deny your good experience. Don't deny my bad one. Don't try to challenge my bad one. Don't tell me what you think I should have done. I didn't ask you. Because actually, your advice would have been stupid in that moment. Now, what was unfortunate and unlucky was the fact that I still ended up not getting a visa and still didn't get paid in the end. But me trying to stay there and be mature was not dumb. People work for bad companies because they're in bad situations, not because they want to work for a bad company and they didn't see red flags. Some people didn't see red flags. You got to learn somewhere. In my case, I saw those red flags and I shared those red flags with you. Not so that Karen can judge me and tell me what I should have done, but rather to give you the entire picture. That's why I did it with a broad too. I didn't have to mention me drinking alcohol because it had nothing to do with why I quit my job. But it did have to do with why I chose to make the video, and that's the reason why I put that inside the video. I wanted to explain where that false rumor came from. Because otherwise, it would just seem really random. And see, most people give you a half-assed story. And I said that in both of those videos. My goal was to tell the entire story so that this way nobody can ever come out later and make up bullshit about me. I told you what I did. I told you what they did. I told you how I felt. I told you how I presumed they must have felt too. Most people aren't capable of doing that, even as adults. People normally like to tell stories only from their own perspective. I gladly offered you both, which is why I bothered to mention that. Otherwise, I could have withheld that information. It wasn't necessary. It only hurt me, technically, but I felt like it was better to tell the truth than to make up a lie or cover up stuff, because then it makes me not credible. Because what if they were to make a video say, well, actually, Miss Rin, she did X, Y, and Z at work. Well, now I gotta make another video saying, well, I actually didn't mention the part. Do you see what I'm trying to say? But I mentioned it to put all of that stuff to rest. There was a little truth to what they said, but that was not the way that it happened, and that was not the reason why I wasn't working there. They made it sound like I was a full-fledged alcoholic that had a drinking problem, and I was unprofessional. That was damaging to my reputation and within my community and city. That was my issue. So much can be said. I'm done. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And Karen and Chris, what did I call you all? Colonial, what was it? Colonial Chris? No, Colonizer Chris. Yeah, Colonizer Chris and Colonial Karen. If you want to argue again, you want to leave bullshit comments and continue to be rude and condescending and not helpful and give your unwanted advice, please feel free to leave a stupid comment, and I will gladly remove you from my channel and make another video. We can just keep this going, because I think you guys need to learn a lesson. I'm not your mama. My name is not Becky. I don't do that crap. If you choose to be disrespectful and rude towards me, I will match your energy. You lack the ability to be empathetic. You can't think. You have nothing nice to say. Well, I can give you that same energy back too. My bad experience does not take away from your good experience. Likewise, my good experience doesn't take away from your bad. Quit trying to victim blame. I didn't ask you for advice on what I should have done. That's not the title of the video. I'm telling you what I did. I'm telling you what happened. It's a fucking story time. I didn't ask you how do you think the story should end, or how it ends, or what could I have done better. Because honestly, none of what you said was actually true. The fault was not on me. It was on them as a school. I'm not an employer. I don't care whether you liked me or you thought I did a crappy job or not. I came to work and you didn't fire me, so I should be paid for the work that I did, even if I got fired. You had no critique for that, though, of course. Because Karens love to change the topic, switch the subject, change the angle. You somehow, after watching that entire video, you somehow redirected it to pulling it back on me. Be like, well, you should never work there. So, well, also acknowledging why I work there by saying that, well, I understand because I've fallen on hard times too. I'm done. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. The links to everything are down in the description box. And you can even feel free to watch my video and see what I had to say about working there. I am not going to do research for you, Karen. You claim that you work for the company, so look through your handbook, look through your emails, and I'm pretty sure you will find what the name of the parent company is. And I'm pretty sure it's somewhere on their website, too. It's not Kids Duo. It's not Yaruki Switch or whatever. It's the parent company that owns it all. Do your research. Quit lying to me. You ain't really do research, because I'm pretty sure it's there. Because I'm pretty sure I even saw the link, because I looked into it myself. Don't play down with me. But that's not my job, Karen. I don't get paid to do that. This is my story time. This is not me doing a research paper for you to prove what I'm saying to you. I'm telling you my own experience, my own story. 2 claps for you, ho. I'm not really glad. I don't give a shit about what your experience is like. Just keeping it real with you. So, I'm done. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Bye.